All right, so welcome again, everyone, to our Life After Stroke support group. I'm going to turn it over to my fellow Life After Stroke group support coordinator, Julie. Go ahead, Julie. The table is all yours.
Hi, everybody. I'm really excited to talk today because I've been at these meetings for several years and heard everybody's story, and I too have a story to share. Um, but I just want to connect with everybody and make this as casual as possible. So if there's ever a question and you just want to ask it, like just raise your hand or just shout out and unmute yourself and just ask the question because I would love it to be more of a conversation than me talking at you. I'm going to start by telling you who I am and then what happened to me and my experience in the hospital and rehab and getting back to my life. So who I am, I was born and raised in Vancouver, and I grew up dancing my entire life. I became in love with musical theater and at 16 realized I could do it as a actual career and went to theater school in New York City in when I was 19. I then graduated from theater school and pursued a professional career in New York. I was a Radio City Rockette for several years, professional dancer, high level professional dancer, and professional performer. I traveled across the country performing in musicals. I really had a really great, thriving performing career. And then at 32, I decided to retire from specifically dancing because it's just so hard on your body. But I still wanted to be involved in the theater world, so I realized that I could choreograph musicals and be on the other side of the table, which is like directing and creating and choreographing. So that's a bigger story of how I transitioned onto the other side of the table. But basically, I decided to switch to the other side of the table and start directing and choreographing musicals mostly. And I had quite a thriving career directing and choreographing musicals, and it was really passionate. I actually loved directing musicals more than I loved performing in them, and realized that while I was working, and really, really loved that side and that job. And then in April of 2017, 7 years ago, I was 38 and I had a massive stroke. What had happened was previous, like 2 weeks prior, I was having severe, intense migraines. And I get migraines every once in a while, and I have ocular symptoms always with my migraines. I lose peripheral vision sometimes. I have like the rainbow jagged like circles. If anybody has ocular migraines, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But I started to have them more intensely and more frequently, um, daily and then hourly. And 2 weeks before my stroke, I was having them so severely and neck pain and all of these things that were a little bit um, worrying me, but also I was really under a lot of stress and like working way too hard. So I just like said, "Oh, I'm healthy. I'm 38. Like there's nothing wrong with me," and just kept going. And then one day I lost my peripheral vision so much that I like basically felt like I had blinders on. I was like, oh, this is weird. So I went to the doctor. And the doctor looked at me and gave me the stroke tests, and I passed all the stroke tests. And they were like, "You're fine. You just have migraines." They gave me my migraine medication and sent me home. And then the next day, maybe 2 days later, I had such an intense migraine that my vision, it felt like a veil went over my eyes, like a black veil went over my eyes, and like it was like a lacy veil, I explain it as. And I could see, but I could barely see. And I was like, something's wrong. It was very sudden and very severe. And I was on the phone with my best friend, and I was like, something's wrong. I can't really see. She was like, okay, like just like hang up and call your husband and like, I don't know, like try to get help. And so I hung up the phone. I carried my laptop and a glass of water like with me, and I dropped both like almost 5 seconds later. And I don't remember like picking them up. I don't remember anything after that. I remember like my body being pulled to the floor, and I was like, something's dramatically wrong. So I was home alone at the time, and I took myself down to the my front desk. Like, I live in a condo. I knew something was wrong, and I just knew I didn't want to be alone in that moment. And I went to the front desk and was like, "Call 911. Something's happening to me." So long story short, I got rushed to the hospital. 4 hours in emergency, they were like, "Oh, you're just having a panic attack and migraines," and they gave me migraine medication and Ativan and sent me home. And I was like, "Okay, fine." I wanted to believe so badly that I was just having a migraine and a panic attack. So that night at like after midnight, I woke up with the most intense headache of my life, took 2 Advil, started vomiting immediately. My husband called 911, and I was on a stretcher. I was saying my name and spelling my last name and saying my address, and then I don't remember anything for 12 hours after that. I remember waking up in the hospital and my brother, who lives in Vancouver, being there. I was in the hospital in Toronto and being there, and he said to me that I had had a stroke. And I I was sort of dumbfounded. Like, both I knew something was dramatically wrong, but I also didn't want to believe that anything was wrong, and I definitely didn't think, like, there was no in no world was I having a stroke, you know? I was healthy, I was 38 years old. I just didn't imagine that something like that could happen to somebody like me. Um, but all of that to say, he was talking to me. I wasn't responding. I was locked in, not responding, not to being able to talk, not being able to move, not being able to react to anything, and basically I was a vegetable. And the I heard the doctor say, like, she's probably not going to get better, you know? And you better believe I walked into that emergency room like 2.5, 3 weeks later and was like, I'm better. But not, it didn't happen like that. But I knew in my mind that I was still in there, and I had work to do. I had a career I loved. I had family that I loved so much. And I just knew somehow I was going to get better. I think it was just, my brain wasn't allowing me to understand the weight of the moment, and the traumatic event that had happened. Um, but anyways, I just believed in my heart and soul that I was going to get better. Um, and I would say 2.5 to 3 weeks later, I was able to laugh and smile, and I said a couple words. So my recovery was very slow at the beginning. Like, I was able to swallow. I was on a feeding tube for a while, and then they wanted to insert a feeding tube into my stomach. My husband was like, "Can we do some swallowing tests first?" Because I don't know if the doctors offered that or something, but he knew that he wanted to push for me not to get a feeding tube inserted into my stomach. I heard all of this, but I wasn't able to react or respond to anything or have a say in anything that was happening to me. Um, and I I passed my swallowing test, so I was taken off the feeding tube, thank God, because it was so awful. I was so thirsty all the time. They feed you like a shot of water every like 12 hours or something. It's so little liquid that I was like, my mouth was so dry and I was so thirsty all the time, and I felt dehydrated. But and I just wanted to like go back to eating food. Um, Anyways, long story short, I was taken off the feeding tube and able to do soft foods like liquids and things like that, and whatever. I spent 3.5 weeks in the hospital, and then I moved to a rehab hospital. And by the time I moved to a rehab hospital, I was able to stand and take 5 steps. I wasn't able to go to the bathroom on my own. I still had a catheter in. I was able to speak a couple words at a time. Um, and then, yeah, like I desperately wanted to sit up on my bed. I wasn't able to do that yet. The goals that I had for myself, like I wanted to sit cross-legged on my bed, like just sit up with the support of my body and not be laying back. Like like you don't realize how badly you want to do that until you can't. Um, Anyways, I then moved to the rehab hospital, and it was there that I actually felt like belief that I could have my life back, you know? Um, so within the first week or two at the rehab hospital, I was in speech therapy and physical therapy and occupational therapy, and they were all asking me like, what are your goals, what are your goals, what are your goals? And I'm like, well, I was a dancer, and I probably can't dance anymore, and that's fine because I don't have to dance, but I would love to be able to teach dance or choreograph or like do any of the things that I am doing now. Like I would love to get back to my life because I couldn't imagine not doing what I do, you know? I wasn't even allowing myself to think what is an alternative career if you can't go back to this career. I just wouldn't even I wouldn't even entertain that idea. And so they were like, what are your goals? I was like, well, I want to get back to my life. And they were like, what does that mean? I was like, okay, leading a room of people, like speaking, leading a room, teaching dance, choreographing things, like making up dance steps, all of these like high level goals that like the rehab therapists are like, okay, so it's not getting in and out of bed, it's not like feeding yourself with a spoon, it's like you're asking for like big goals here. And I was like, yeah, like yes, I want to feed myself with a spoon still, I want to hold a cup on my own, I want to open a salsa jar, but like I don't even care if I can do those things. I want to get back to my career that I love. And those things are going to come, you know? So luckily I had a rehab team that was very, I don't know, enthusiastic about my goals. So they all got together and had a meeting, and they were like, well, what if we put on a show? And I was like, yeah, that would be amazing. First, I didn't react like that actually. I was like, in my head, I was like, that would be amazing. But the outward was like so much anxiety and like so much worry. Like, teach these people who don't know how to dance, and then put on, like, I couldn't even conceive of it. But they were so gung ho about it all and like so enthusiastic that I was like, okay, I think I can do this. So we, throughout the next 6 weeks of rehab, like we sort of outlined what it would look like. I would have to have rehearsals with all my physiotherapist, my occupational therapist, my rehab therapist, my speech therapist, my speech and occupational assistant. Like I had a cast of 5 dancers, and I would teach them dance steps first, and then I would choreograph a number, and then we would costume it, and then we would create a set, and then we would invite people to it. I would schedule things on email. I would send all of the emails. Like all of these things were little goals that I had broken down for myself, and they had helped me break down because I was not capable of um, thinking like that big picture yet. I was like, they had to feed everything to me. They were like, what comes next? So what is the next step? And I would be like, okay, so this is the next step. And they were like, okay, we can do that. We could do that. So through the help and support of my team, they were very imperative in assisting me in like creating this bigger goal. And then on my second to last day of rehab, we like even I don't think my agent came, but like some of my friends in the industry came, like so many people came, like my mom flew out, like there was so many people there in the audience. And it was just one number, it was like a 5-minute number, but like they danced and like they did it, and it was so great. It wasn't great, like it was nurses basically like performing a dance number, but it didn't matter that it was great. Like that wasn't the point. The point was that I did it, that I accomplished this like high level goal that I never thought I could do, and that proved to me that I could do my job, you know, even though I had a lot of assistance. So that was rehab, and like I say, I jeted out of the room. Like jete means jump split out of the rehab hospital, because I didn't jump split out of the rehab hospital, but I basically walked out skipping, like singing, like, oh my god, I can do this, you know. And I will say that like from that moment, like that was, I don't know, that was the end of June by the time I graduated from inpatient rehab. And then I did like a fast track outpatient rehab all summer. And then I did outpatient like uh, more relaxed, I would say relaxed outpatient rehab in the fall. And then it took from there 2 more years to like actually get back to myself. Like I wasn't 100%. I still am not 100%, but I would say when I got out of rehab, I felt like I could do my job, albeit differently. And I was getting there with my physical goals. Like I don't have the strength that I used to have. I don't have the balance. I don't have the fearlessness for sure. But I do have the ability to believe in myself and do it another way. Like if I can't do it the way I used to, which is I can't demonstrate dance anymore. I found that I couldn't really dance the way I did. I took a couple of dance classes after my time in the rehab hospital, and I just looking at myself in the mirror. I don't know if anybody's a dancer in here, but looking at myself in the mirror and not recognizing the body was just way too painful. I don't think I will ever be able to dance. I should try to um, deal with that element and that pain. But I haven't been able to yet. Like it's been 7 years post stroke, and I haven't been able to look at myself in the mirror and be like, you can't dance the way you used to, and that's okay. You know, I just sort of avoid it. So that's one of the things that I'm still working on. Um, but all in all, like I'm so grateful to be back at my job and within the career that I love, that I'm willing to do whatever it takes to facilitate that. So the first contract that I did when I went back, I realized really quickly that my brain fatigue could not make it through an 8 hour rehearsal day. So I asked the artistic director of the theater if I could have a space to rest at lunch. And I would eat my lunch really quick for the first 10 minutes and then go for the next 45 and like just sit quietly, close my eyes, like so that the stimulation wouldn't tire me out, like talking, noise, light, all of those things tire. We all know that all of those things tire our brains out way more than they used to pre-stroke. So I needed that. So I learned that I just needed to ask for the things. I think they're accessibility things, like ask for the things that I needed in order to do my job the way that normal people could do their job. And I found that by asking and then getting, almost all of the time they're like, yeah, of course we can do that for you, of course we can do that for you, of course we can do that for you. I got more brave in asking for like exactly what I needed. Like I need to do 5 day work week and not 6 day work weeks. I need to do one less hour. I need to have a longer lunch break. I need to start at 11. Like whatever the ask was, it over time, because I learned that like you just have to ask, and most people are willing to give you what you need. Um, Unfortunately, especially because you've had a stroke, or especially because you've had an event of some sort. But I found more confidence and courage in asking because um, because I needed it, and because then I could do my job so well. So yeah, so that's what I learned is like in asking for what you actually need and like the support that you need in order to do your job, like you can, most of the time you're going to get what you need, and otherwise they're just a fucking asshole. Sorry for my, pardon my vulgar language, but like it's I don't think anybody would not give you the ability to close your eyes um at some point. And then it took 2 years to get back like little things like my sense of humor, like landing a joke. Like I know you all know that, and I know you all understand like the nuance of conversation was the thing that like through me for so long. Like I was able to have like basic conversations where I communicate the thing that I need or the thing that I want or the thing that I want people to do or whatever. But the nuance of like real deep conversations and like humor, like satirical conversations, ironic conversations, like sarcasm, like all of those things, like I knew it in my brain, but I couldn't execute what I knew I wanted to say in the way that I needed it to land as a joke, you know? Those things took so long to get back, and I was like, oh my God, like I'm such a funny person, but you don't know it, you know? Um, so it was like 2 years later when I said something really funny and everybody laughed, and I was like, oh my God, it's back, it's back. Like my timing, my execution, all of those things are back. Um, and there has been things that haven't come back, like my handwriting, in spite of all of the exercises, all of the like writing between the lines, like the letter, like I wrote letters after letters after letters, and then I did hand exercises in order to like get my dexterity back. My handwriting is still not back, um, so that like I don't know. I'll keep working on it forever, but like I it's not back. And there's little things like my left shoulder I can't feel, and I got a tattoo in order to like wake it up. It still is not awake. But like I don't know. Like I do I do grieve those losses, and I also accept that they might not come back, and that's okay. Um, and that's a hard one. That's a hard one for each of us because each of our journeys is very individual, and some things are not okay that they haven't come back. And like I have a friend who's doesn't have the use of one of their arms, and that's really really difficult. And I'm not going to minimize that. I'm not going to invalidate that because I do have the use of both of my arms. Um, so I don't even know what that feels like. But I'm not going to say but, I'm going to say and I appreciate all of the things that I have gotten back, and I'm grateful for the things that I have gotten back and that I can do. And I try to just focus on that. I didn't have my license back until this year. Like they took my license away, like most of us. And then pandemic, like it just was a really hard story. And then my license expired and I had to go back to the beginning, and I got my learners and blah, 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 blah. I just finally passed my road test in the end of September. And I'm like, oh my God, I have the ability to buy a car, and now they're so expensive, and like gas is so expensive that I'm not buying a car, but I have the ability to drive, which is really, really nice. Um, so like little goals all along the way, and like I still have little goals. Like in terms of dance, like my tap dance was one of my favorites, and I can still choreograph tap because I can use my brain and talk to people that can tap dance for me, but I can't tap dance myself, and I can't teach tap dance because it's just a bigger story. But you can't really teach the medium if you can't demonstrate it. So or at least that's my belief. Maybe like there's somebody that's going to challenge me in that belief, and I will maybe rise to the occasion one day. But I don't teach tap anymore, and I really want to be able to tap dance because I really loved it. So that's another goal that I have for myself. It's a personal goal. Like it's not required for my job, but like I would love to be able to tap dance again. So over time, small goals. Um, and I don't know how to leave it. Like I don't know if I should just say that like, um, if you I don't know. I don't know if the inspiration is um believe like I truly believe that recovery will last my entire life, and I'm never going to stop working toward goals that I've had since day 1 of having a stroke. So I will continue to work on my handwriting and my tap dancing and all of the things and my right shoulder coming back, and all of the things, probably forever, actually. Over to you, Ella.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing your story, Julie. I wrote down, as usual, a few points that I really want to talk about. Um, oh my gosh. Firstly, I'll start with I think it is so important to get yourself excited about rehab. Like you said at the beginning of your talk, um, your team was asking you for little goals like eating with a spoon again or like walking, and you're like, I want to choreograph a show. And they're like, whoa, that's a huge goal. But that's what got you excited. Um, and so that's why I think occupational therapy is so great because it's really that combination of real life skills and getting better. And so, gosh, if you guys find that you're not getting excited about rehab, and I know it's not going to be exciting all the time, even if you're picking something that does fill up your cup, um, maybe it's just time to pick something new. I was a soccer player before my stroke, and I still am a soccer player. And I'm telling you, nothing got me more excited to practice walking and then running than if it was going after a soccer ball. Like way less interesting doing that on a treadmill or down my own street. But if it's with the soccer ball, for sure I want to do that. So think about what gets you excited and then see if you can integrate that into your own rehab journey. And then the second thing I wanted to bring up was you said you still have a hard time looking into the mirror 7 years later and accepting that you'll never be able to dance like you used to, right?
Yeah, it's a hard one.
Um, I guess my question, okay, maybe it's not a question. I think for me, sometimes it's still hard to accept that I cannot play soccer like I used to. For me, it's also been 16 years. And so stroke or not, I have to remember that of course, I'm not going to be able to play soccer like I did 16 years ago, stroke or not.
Yeah.
Um, and I just kind of stopped comparing. And so that's helpful for me to just like say, this is how Ella plays soccer right now. Who cares about how she used to play soccer? Like, this is how I do it now. And it's pretty darn good for, being 30 and playing in the leagues I do. But yeah, maybe, I don't know, the
Yeah,
comparison.
like that's the thing that it's just for me and this is very specific dance related, but like for me in terms of like the little style things, like my brain knows what I want it to do, but I can't execute those little style things and it's really frustrating and like there's been times that I've looked at myself in the mirror and like burst into tears and I'm like, okay, this is healing, this is healing, this is healing. And it's not that like yeah, like it's just I just and yes, I am 45 now. Like I was 38 at the time of the stroke, 7 years later, 45. So yes, of course a 45-year-old woman doesn't dance the way her 20-year-old self did. So I do accept that. And I like as an any aging dancer would accept that their body's not doing the thing that it used to do. It just happened so suddenly for me and I didn't have the time to like get used to my aging body. It was just like 38 I danced one way and then 38 and one day later I danced a different way and it was just like, oh, that's so it's heartbreaking. And it's just like I'm getting there on the path of acceptance. I've accepted it like in a lot of ways, but I'm just like working through the acceptance of like fully accepting and embracing the dancer that I am now, you know? And like, there's a lot of people that have been like, you should just dance in your kitchen. You should just dance wherever. And I'm like, yeah, I will. I don't know when, but I will. It's a painful one. It's just painful. Like it's who I am at the soul and my core, you know.
Yeah.
So it's a really tricky one. Yeah.
All, all in due time, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I do believe that. Yeah, I do believe that.
Good. Awesome. Well, I want to open it up to the floor. Again, the recording is still on, and if you're comfortable sharing something that struck a chord with you during Julie's chat, please just unmute yourself and go for it. If you want to wait till the recording is over, you can definitely do that as well. I need to go step away and grab my laptop charger. So maybe I'll let Julie kind of
Yeah,
take the reins for a
I'll
sec.
facilitate. Yeah. Does anybody want to say something? Yeah, Shruti?
Unmuted?
Yeah.
Okay, great. I myself have been struggling with the balance between acceptance and pushing forward. Like, how do you accept what has happened, but also believe, like with everything we know about neuroplasticity now, like how do we believe that yeah, we can improve, we can still improve, we're going to still improve, whilst also accepting where you are, Like I find that such a like I'm so torn in that kind of
Yeah, like I relate. I relate so fully. Somebody said to me once, and it was not related to stroke, but I can use it to equate it to like stroke recovery. They said
Mhm.
they said 100% acceptance, 100% change. And so in order for you to no, so basically what they're saying is you have to be fully accepting of where you are at this moment in time, whether or
Uh-huh.
not it gets better or not, and just fully accept yourself in whatever form you are in terms of recovery. And
Right.
then you can 100% devote yourself to changing that. But in order to change it, you have to be fully accepting of where you are in this moment. So it's a really tricky and high level thinking thing, but
Yeah.
it's just helped me so much to be like, it's okay, you are where you are. Like I imagine myself on the elliptical because it was about like something else. Um, uh, 100% acceptance, 100% acceptance, 100% acceptance, and therefore you can work toward changing as you're accepting yourself while trying to change.
Right.
It's like sort of while you're doing the work, like whatever the work is for you, like if it's lifting a weight.
Mhm.
100%, I accept that I'm not there yet. I accept that I'm not there yet. Like whatever it is, just accept where you are in this moment while doing the work to change. That makes sense?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know, it's helped me. It's helped me so many times in so many weird ways?
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah. But like there's no magic like this is what it is? Like it is like
Yeah.
struggle to accept and like otherwise like do you just give up? Do you just curl in a ball? Like what is there? Like
Right.
you
Yeah.
have to keep moving forward?
Yeah. For
Yeah,
sure.
it's and you have to cry and you have to scream into a pillow and like throw something at the wall. Like you have to do all the things. You have to get it
Yeah.
out. You can't hold it in.
Mhm.
Get it out, get it out, get it out in whatever way you need to, but don't give up. Get it out
Right.
and then get back up and dust yourself off and
Right.
move 1% or one step. Like I walked 5 steps the first time I walked, and they were the most tiring steps of my life. My
Right.
legs felt like lead, and then I had to take a nap because I was so exhausted from
Of
taking those
course.
five
Yeah.
steps. But I was like, okay, I need to take a nap now. And I didn't know, like, in that moment when I stood the first time, I was like, oh, this is going to be a lot longer than I thought it was. Because in my brain, I was going to jump back up and, like, do everything?
Yeah.
And then
Mhm.
took way, way, way longer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
but every single day, and also like for me, visualizing things really help. Like envisioning, like visualizing before you actually do it, that it's that you're doing it perfectly, like,
Right.
whatever the thing is, and then I don't know that also helped. Like I think that is like something that's studied now, like brain wise, like
Yeah.
visualizing.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Cool.
Actually, I'll jump in there. Oh, it's frozen. Maybe
Um,
Julie's talking. It froze. And were you talking, Julie? Did it cut you off?
No, 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 no. Go ahead.
I wanted to say that yes, you're right. If you visualizing is practiced by a lot of high level athletes, because what you can do is actually activate your motor neurons just by visualizing what you're doing. And like it has to be very, very specific, like going through the movements in your head. And so I definitely would encourage anyone to do that. If you can't lift your arm, visualize yourself doing it. 13 reps, 3 sets, like do it all in your head and see if you could make progress that way.
That's cool.
yeah.
Anybody else would like to unmute yourself and share? Yeah, I will turn off the recording and then we can continue the conversation a little bit more.